Hello, amazing, wonderful humans. So I wanted to pop on and just do a little video because I saw a post only recently and it was in an entrepreneur group that I'm in. And the woman in there basically said that she felt that there was three things that we were going to need as entrepreneurs online over the next while because AI coming in is really taking over a lot of writing, a lot of content creation. It's even written books. So AI has gotten to the point in advancement that it is surpassing content creation, really. So it means like a lot of the stuff that we're seeing online is going to be written by a robot, basically, or artificial intelligence. And what does that mean? For me, as a creative person who loves to write, I was looking at this thinking, it's sad to think that the world is going to become so automated that, our creative expression is no longer going to be in need or demand. And it made me sad. I was like, really? That's kind of shitty, like. Um, and the whole AI thing, to be honest with you, while there's a lot of benefits to it, there's a lot of negatives to it. Especially considering that AI is based on improving itself constantly. Now, when you have artificial intelligence constantly improving itself at a speed that's not even comprehensible to the human brain, there is dangers that comes with that. Something can get too clever for its own good. And that might have seemed very Space Odyssey kind of, futuristic at one point in our lives. Like back in the 90s, we would have been thinking like, that's crazy. And it's not crazy, it's here. Like it's literally in existence. I saw another post recently by somebody who said that they had been with a publisher for 15 years. They had released, I think it was something like maybe 8 books in that time. I don't know the number specifically. And they went back to the publisher with another idea, and the publisher ran their idea through AI and basically created a whole book out of that and said to the writer, sorry, we don't need you any longer. I was like, wow, that's sad. So the books that you're going to be reading out there someday are going to be written not even by human experience. It's going to be artificial intelligence scanning the World Wide Web for people who've or people who've shared their experiences online, and then the artificial intelligence takes that experience and uses it as though it were real, but it's not real. So we're going to be reading books written by artificial intelligence, no longer the human experience, and there's something really fucking sad about that. And at times I felt very, what's the word, nihilistic, is it? When we consider like, what's the future holding? What does the future actually hold for us? If everything becomes automated, humans no longer need jobs. That's great because we have more free time. But humans need to feel productive in order to feel fulfilled, valued, like they have meaning and purpose in their life. And when you've got a load of people who don't have jobs and don't have money and don't have income and don't have all that kind of stuff, the population can go a bit crazy. It's a whole rabbit hole you could go down by yourself. But that's not what I'm here for. So I read this post today, and this lady basically said, for anybody who's an entrepreneur, there's 3 things that are going to become really valuable over the next couple of years. And I was like, I totally agreed with everything she said. She said one of the first things is doing lives. Like if you're going live on Instagram or live on Facebook or live over Zoom or whatever, that's going to be really valuable because AI hasn't really mastered or been able to figure that out. Yes, we can use filters on Instagram and other TikTok and all that kind of stuff to completely mimic a human, and there are programs out there that are CGI based that can create human looking faces to like spiel a story, but it will be pre-inputted data, to my understanding. So going on and doing lives are going to be huge and are going to be key for people to know that who they're talking to is real. Now, the sad thing about this is the crossover between it becoming abundantly obvious and abundantly clear that AI is behind writing a book, writing a post, writing a story, writing a blog, being on a recorded video, writing a course, whatever it is. I think we're going to have to go through quite a big transition period where a lot of people won't know for a long period of time that the content they're reading has actually been created by AI. And then people are going to be pissed with that. When they finally figure it out, people are going to be pissed with that. There is a lot of stuff online already that is CGI. Look at your movies. Your movies, quite often, there's a lot of scenes in that are not even the actor doing those scenes. It's actually a CGI version of the actor doing those scenes. So whether you realize it or not, it's actually happening already. It's actually in our world already. And it's just that it hasn't become abundantly clear and obvious to us. So it's going to take time for the mainstream population to finally tweak and go, wait a minute, is that real? And then when everybody starts asking the question, is that real? And they start realizing that it's CGI or AI or whatever it is, they're going to feel duped, first of all, which is fine. It's going to take a long time for that to kind of happen, I think. Saturn and Pisces is certainly going to help with that as well. And Pluto going into Aquarius is going to help with that as well. But when we finally tip past the point of everybody realizing that it's all a fucking con show, then human interaction is going to be really, really important. And people are going to seek humanness or human interaction and human connection. And to be honest with you, I think we can see this in our world already. You know, the last couple of years shoved us onto Zoom and social connection online, and it really ramped up being in groups and being connected with people in other countries. And isn't that amazing? Isn't it absolutely stunning and amazing? But also what has happened has been we have gotten to a point in human history where I feel like social skills are really, really dwindling and need some work. Like even down to the art of small talk. If you think about it, a lot of people when they're joining groups of anything, they're joining like-minded groups of people who are like-minded. Now, that's different than being, I think it was Tad Hargrave said that there was a difference between being a community, what did he say? An online community and a geographic community. Tad Hargrave is marketing for hippies and he's amazing. You should totally check him out. But he has some really profound work, but he also has some really profound insights on life in general as well. And I remember him saying that, you know, how fragile the world actually is when you consider that a lot of people are in groups that are like-minded. So if you're in a like-minded group and you're all into, I don't know, you're all into reading crime novels, right? And then you're all really gelled together, you know, you're like this, you all get on with each other and you all have a lot in common and you all love kind of reading the same books. And then say, as Tad Hargrave in his, it was a speech or a podcast or something he was doing, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but he basically said, imagine then that like an abortion referendum comes in and that absolutely splinters off and splits the group because now suddenly they don't have something in common. Something external came into their world and fractured their commonness as such. And so now that group is broken. So what he was trying to highlight and what I loved from this was if we're in loads of online groups where, you know, you're into knitting here and you're into horseback riding here and you're into hiking there and you're into, I don't know, gardening here. If you're into all these independent separate groups, it's amazing because you're getting to meet like-minded people. That's absolutely stunning and it's so valuable. But it also means that the depth to which you can cultivate that relationship is somewhat limited in that as you start to filter down in the group that you're in, what your beliefs and your common interests are, it's going to start weeding out people, right? It's going to start being like, okay, well, I'm into gardening. Oh, but I don't like tulips. Oh, you like tulips? No, I don't like tulips. Okay, that's the end of that group. So now you have a gardening group for tulips, right? And then you're in the gardening group for tulips and somebody goes, do you know what? I absolutely love cactus as well. And they're like, this is really dramatized. You understand this, right? Somebody goes, oh yeah, I love cactus as well. And somebody's going to go, oh God, I'm not into cactus. Do you know? So that person creates a group for people who are into tulips and cactus. The point of what I'm saying is not about gardening. It's not about that. It's about how fragile our online groups are even our in-person groups, how fragile they are. However, he was also making a point about geographic community. When you live in a community, what you have in common is where you're from or where you live in that community. So now it's a little less personal, it's more human, it's more natural, and with that means that more conflicting interests, beliefs, and structures can coexist. So if you're in a community and the cohesiveness that's there, whether that's a word, is there because you're connected with your neighbors and you want to take care of each other because you're neighbors, because you live in the same area, because you're proud of where you come from, because you like the road you live on, because you like the fact that there's a park up the road, whatever it is, the thing that you've actually got in common is something that's not going to change, which is the area that you're in, or it won't change much. Now you can have a neighbour who's into reading and somebody else is into bike riding, and they can still have a conversation with each other. They can still meet up and, go to community events together, because it's not personal. The community is the community, and it's more diverse. And it doesn't mean that you can't coexist you can coexist with different beliefs, basically, is what I'm saying, in a geographic community. And so I don't know, community is something that really intrigues me and interests me. It's something I haven't done much study on. I would love to do more study on it, because I feel like it's something that's actually really missing. I've gone off on a total tangent here, but I just feel that with the coming of AI, everything that we've been doing online, because we were forced online over the last couple of years, and it's been uncomfortable, and I can speak from personal experience, it's been uncomfortable to try and figure out how to do what I do online, make the connections I make online, and replicate that process in my physical world. Because the online world, it's so easy, accessible to just go click on an interest group and join it. And in your physical world, it's not always as easy, because you might not live somewhere where there are the same meetup groups, or you might not live somewhere where you have access to those other type of people. And so geography also has its limitations, because you might not live in a community that you feel connected to. You might not live around people that you know. And most of us don't. Most of us have moved away from home, worked in lots of different areas, and moved to lots of different areas because you worked in lots of different areas, and maybe you haven't really put roots down, or you're only starting to put roots down. And a lot of people don't know their neighbours. And also we live in the closer you live to the city, the more moving people tend to do. So, if you live next door to a neighbour and you get on well, they might not be there in 5 years. They might not be there in 6 weeks. So we have there's a fragility around community, because of the fact of our lives are so quick, they're so different, they change so often. We don't, like years ago, people were in a community, they lived together in a community, they grew together in the community, they helped each other, they supported each other, whether they liked each other or not. Like, I'm from a small town in the country. I can tell you, there's a lot of people, so much conflict and so much like small-mindedness and twitching windows and people in your business. So who wants that? Nobody wants that. But what we do want is community. We want to feel supported. We want to feel like we can call on our friends if we need help. We can call on our neighbours if we need help. And I feel what this woman's post was, the three things, finally I'm getting to the three things she said that we would need to do is: one, we would need to show up online live more. The second was that we would need to connect more with people in like humanness, and then the other was that we would have to really show up as our quirky human, because what AI is going to do is going to replicate the generic average type Joe, unless not. I don't know how this is going to work. But every single human is completely unique. Every single human is so different from each other, and yet it's very, very similar. And we've all come with our own little unique package of magic that nobody else has. We came here with our own flavour, and whilst we might be very similar to other people, and whilst we might be very have a lot of the same interests and qualities and perspectives and beliefs, there's still always going to be something about you that's just different. And it's probably going to be the stuff that you don't tell people or show people, or that maybe, you've been trying to fix away. Maybe you've been trying to hide. Maybe you've been trying to change about yourself. Maybe you haven't felt that it's acceptable. And actually, that's your flavor. And that's something that AI is not going to be able to do. It won't be able to replicate your humanness, and it won't be able to replicate human to human connection, and it won't be able to replicate original thought leadership points of view. It can rehash it because it can do that based on past information, but it can't intuit it, because that's what we are as humans. We're intuitive. We're connected into the collective. We are divinely connected to God, to source, to our spirit guides, to our higher self, whatever you want to call it. And that's where we get these beautiful intuitive insights about life, about each other, about the direction of life. And this is the other thing, life is expanding, right? To me, my understanding of AI is it takes the information that's been, and it correlates that, and it puts it into, basically makes it look new, right? It takes all the information and it rehashes it and jumbles around so it looks new, but it's still information that's already been there. As humans, we have the ability to intuit. We have the ability to pull in information that's not here already, because that's how we evolve as humans. Because as humans, the way we evolve is that we come up with ideas, we problem solve, we're inspired by other people. We hear somebody in their story, and next thing we're inspired to do something ourselves. And it's a co-creation between ourselves, each other, God, whatever. And that's what creativity is. Creativity is like this divine spark and energy that comes through you, that, gets to express itself through you. AI can't do that. It can replicate and it can make something look new, but it can't actually, so far, come up with something that's new. And so for somebody, the reason I'm sharing this is because I've had a lot of moments of worry and anxiety and fear about the shape of humankind and where we're going, and are we doomed? Are we just doomed? Like, I literally had that. I'm like, we've just made an absolute shit show of this planet. And I'm not talking about climate change. Like, climate change, absolutely, we're speeding things up. Climate change is something that has been around forever. So the fact that I agree with, yes, this is an amazing movement, that we should all like become a little bit more copped on and make more of an effort in the world. But like, it's also commercialism. This whole thing about climate change is also commercialism. Anybody who's got 2 cents together and does a bit of research, you'll actually be able to see, like, the Earth, our planet is all based on polarity. It's all based on cycles. And like, even our seasons, if we look at the map of the world, if we look at big cataclysmic events in the past as well, it's a growing planet that we're on. Things are going to change. So even if we try and tackle climate change, we're living on a living planet. It's going to change. Like, it's going to change. We can stop being idiots and polluting the place and be a bit more conscious, and we can stop speeding it up, because that's what we need to do. But like, there's so much that I could say here, and I'm just not going to get into it. But we need to be mindful about what we're buying into also, and who we're buying into it from. And as humans, I feel so desperately that actually what's really needed is for more of us to wake up to our humanness, to really fully understand who we are, to fully embrace all of the weirdness and wonderfulness that it means to be a human, and to wake up out of the sleepy slumber and the haze that comes with the programming that we have in this world. And we're being constantly marketed at all the time. And like, the father of marketing was the son of Sigmund Freud, who was like a psychoanalyst. So you can understand marketing has a lot of psychoanalytic brainwashing attached to it. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm always looking at marketing, and there's a lot of like NLP and subtle subconscious programming that goes on in it. So we're constantly being programmed. We're constantly being dehumanized. It's a big word. It's a bit of a scary word, but it's true. We're constantly being dehumanized. And I feel what we need to move into is being as fucking human as you can be. And really sit down with, like, what does it mean to be human? Because the other thing as well is, I know this is a long video. I'm nearly there. The other thing as well is, while it's amazing to focus on spirituality, I feel like what's also been happening is when we are constantly focused on spirituality is something that's kind of, it's external to your physical realm as such. And it's working with energetics, which I do because I do Reiki and other energy work as well. But we have to also remember that we are here in a human body. We are on this planet in a human body. There is polarity. There's up and down, left and right, light and dark, night and day, wet and dry, whatever it is. And we're in a human body that is here to serve us in a way that we probably don't really give it much credit for. Like, your feelings and your emotions are signposts telling you what it is you need to do. And we haven't been taught how to do that. So, excuse me, that's like a whole rant and a whole video I could do all by itself, and I'm not gonna, I've done other videos and I'll do more about it. But really this video is to say AI, it's not that it's coming, it is already here. It is already here. As I said, there's books now been written by AI. There is content on social media that is going to be epic at selling stuff to you on AI, or that's written by AI. Because AI is doing what humans can't do. It's to compute at a speed that we just can't compute at. And so there will be blogs written by AI. There's just going to be all the stuff, all the impersonal stuff is the stuff that's going to be dealt with by AI. And our mission as a human is, if we don't want to be completely swallowed up by this, and if we don't want to be lost, and if we don't want to end like the Egyptians did, or the Incans, or even Atlantis, if you want to go that far, like all these civilizations seemed to reach a point in their history and then they just magically vanished, just disappeared. It's like they just disappeared overnight. How did that happen? And do we really think that we're any different? Because as humans, I really feel we're careering on a very, very thin line, and we've gotten a bit cocky, and we need to come back down to earth, and we need to start tapping into our humanness, and absolutely use our spiritualness as well. It's about joining the two. And I really do feel that this is going to be a beautiful movement. If we choose to accept it, it's going to be a beautiful movement that's going to eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later, in a positive way, I feel it's going to push us back into connecting with each other, which is what we've been missing and it's what we've been craving. There is an epidemic of loneliness at the moment in the world, and yet we're so connected online. How is that possible? How are we the most connected more than ever? We can reach somebody in America and be in Ireland in half a nanosecond online. And yet we are so disconnected from each other, because humans need physical contact. We need physical human contact. And I really do feel that this is going to be, what's coming is going to be beautiful, in that we really get to embrace our quirky oddballness. Because the more quirky and oddball you are, not in a fake way, not in a I need to stand out on social media and be quirky and odd, because there's enough of that going on in the world. But what I'm saying is, your unique flavor gets to be released, gets to be shown to the world, and you get to be you, which is really, really cool. And you get to connect with other humans. Excuse me, sneeze. On that sneeze, I'm going to say goodbye, but I just wanted, I know this is a long video. Let me know whether this resonates or not. What are your feelings on AI? I would absolutely love to know, what are your feelings on AI? There's good and bad to it, but I would love to know, how do you feel about it? And how do you feel in terms of loneliness or connection? Is that something that you struggle with? As I said, a lot of us don't even know our own neighbours. So anyway, just some thoughts to leave with you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do me a huge favor if you've watched to the end. Thank you for being here. Hit the subscribe button because it helps us to reach more people. Hit the like button because it helps me to reach more people. And I shall talk to you soon.